Visible puts the ultimate wireless hack in the palm of your hand. With unlimited 5G wireless data and hotspot designed to keep you connected, powered by Verizon's 5G network. And no contract holding you back. Plans start at $25 a month, or get the premium Visible Plus Pro plan and save $10 on your first month when you use promo code HACK. Make the switch at Visible.com. Terms apply. See Visible.com for details.
Hello and welcome to The Best Worst, a celebration of the best and the worst of the television we love.
Hi, I'm Meg Bashburner.
And I'm Joseph Fink.
And we love TV, and one of us has a cold. So we created the show so that we could podcast while we have a cold, and to explore what we love about popular TV shows by watching both the IMDb viewer best rated and worst rated episodes of a quintessential series.
Let's get right to it. Today, we are doing Girls, which ran for 6 seasons from 2012 to 2017 with 62 episodes.
My gosh.
Now, let's talk about why we're doing Girls.
Lena Dunham just put out a new memoir, Fame Sick, and I read it, and I was like, let's take a look at Girls. So I think if you are a fan of Girls and if you read Fame Sick, it sort of merits a rewatch after learning a little bit more about how that cake got baked from Lena. So,
well, tell us about your background with this show.
I watched Girls when it was on. I feel like if you're a millennial who's in Brooklyn in 2012 working in the arts, you're kind of required to watch it. It's a show that is made for you, sort of like about you through the lens of the creators of the show. So yes, I watched it when it was on. I found it to be interesting and relatable. I don't think I stuck with it throughout I think I did watch all of the episodes when they were on.
I remember you watching the finale, so I think you did watch the whole. Maybe you skipped a season or something.
Yeah.
Also, they filmed the whole thing in our neighborhood. They were like regularly shutting down our block to film Girls there.
Yes, I got to know the location manager very well because I had to move my car a lot. How about you? Was your...
I didn't watch... I watched Girls occasionally, like, while you were watching it in the room, and nothing in it really caught my interest, and so I didn't seek it out. Years later, there was like a lot of buzz about an episode she did that was sort of about confronting like a famous author who like sexually harassed her, and it's like the two of them in his apartment kind of having this one-on-one thing. And so I watched that episode, and I remember that episode being good. I want to say that it was the second highest rated IMDb episode, so we did not watch it, but it was up there. But other than that, I just didn't. I don't know. I neither watched nor thought about this show a ton, other than when they shut down our block.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
Let's, I guess, get to the worst rated.
We can talk a little bit about how Girls got made and got started. So Lena Dunham was a filmmaker, studied filmmaking in college, kind of came up in the mumblecore crew. She was contemporaries with Greta Gerwig and the Safdie brothers.
Did they know each other? Because those people were all hanging out, like
yes.
Greta Gerwig and the Duplasses. And
yes. In Frances Ha, the apartment that Frances Ha gets, that's her apartment, is Lena Dunham's actual apartment.
Okay.
And they shared a studio space, I want to say. She shared studio space with the Safdies. They had like a office space where they would make their stuff. And she was a contemporary there. I think they met at a film festival. And so Lena Dunham makes the film Tiny Furniture. She makes it on a very small budget with her friends and with her family. And it gets shown at South by Southwest. And it gets a lot of buzz. And it won one of the awards at South by Southwest, which got her a lot of attention that way. So people were passing around that movie. She was kind of brought out to LA to have a bunch of meetings with people. One of the meetings that she had was with HBO, and HBO, she kind of didn't know why she was there because it was like her first real, like, what do you got for us? And so she put together a pitch that is a page and a half long that was like, what if it wasn't Gossip Girl and it wasn't Sex and the City. It was about the time in between that. It's about my friends and about what that sort of life is like. And HBO was like, cool, sounds good. And then Judd Apatow also saw Tiny Furniture, liked it, messaged Lena Dunham and was like, hey, if you ever want to talk, need my help with anything, let me know. And he became attached to the project. And with Judd, it got a sort of blind order for this show. And it was purchased. There was no pilot written. It went right to series. from that page and a half long pitch. She was put together by HBO with Jenny Connor, who she would later form a production company with and a close personal relationship with, who Jenny Connor was sort of brought on as the showrunner and as her supervisor. Lena has a distinct creative voice and obviously knows how to direct and put things together, but they wanted her to have someone who had knew the business very well, so they partnered her with Jenny. And that is how they got up and running with Girls. And then it was a hit from the jump.
Yeah, I remember it was, I think they pitched it and people received it the way that she pitched it in the room, which is just sort of like, yeah, everyone loves Sex and the City, but Sex and the City doesn't fit our generation. This is Sex and the City if it was about the women who are in New York today and not the like wealthy established kind of Upper West Side women.
And like, what happens before? What happens before you become Carrie Bradshaw? What is that like? What does that look like? And HBO's entertainment president, Sue Nagel, was very interested in stories like that at the time. And so she bought it. And yeah, I mean, we can get into all the Nepo baby stuff about unpacking all of that if we want to, but
yeah, I mean, there is I think every person in the main cast is a Nepo baby.
A lot of the
writers
as
well.
well.
Jenny Connor herself is a Nepo baby. Her mother was a TV writer. Her father was a very successful TV writer. Also, a brief little side note, you had never heard of this. I found it kind of while researching Lena Dunham last night in her IMDb and did some research on it. She had a first run at Girls about 2 years before Girls came out, 2 or 3 years, called Delusional Downtown Divas. That was commissioned by a magazine and starred in grand Lena Dunham Nepo baby tradition. It starred the daughter of the editor of the magazine. But it had a very similar sounding idea of like 4 young women kind of a little bit clueless trying to get on in New York. Lena Dunham was in it playing a very similar character of a writer who maybe was more interested in identifying as a writer than actually writing anything. So she kind of had this first run. It had 19 episodes, some on Vimeo, some on YouTube. But I don't think even at the height of Girls that anyone was particularly aware that she had this sort of first run at Girls a few years before.
Yeah. And so then they made the show. And I guess we can talk about the worst one.
The worst one, which this is going to be interesting. It is the series finale. It is season 6, episode 10, Latching. It is a weird one for a few different ways. The first is obviously it's the series finale. But the second is, I think, part of the reason the series finale is so low rated is it does not in any way resemble a series finale. 2 out of the 4 main cast members are not in it. Adam Driver also not in it. It is basically this completely standalone short film that I think Lena Dunham at the time described it as she sort of saw episode 10 as the series finale and this as a like standalone epilogue. I don't think people wanted a standalone epilogue. And so here we are.
How this episode starts is we find Hannah and Marnie in bed, which is how we start with them in the pilot. So it's a nice throwback to that. And Hannah is pregnant and Marnie is like, hey, let's do this together. Let's raise this baby together. And Hannah is initially very reluctant, but then she says, okay. And then we jump to the future where Hannah has had the baby and it's like, it's early postpartum. So it's difficult. They're at a pediatrician's appointment. It's kind of fraught. You can see that there's some tension between Hannah and Marnie, that like the sort of co-parenting thing is difficult. And Hannah is having issues breastfeeding, which Marnie is kind of pressuring her to do. And it's just sort of not going well as an unsupported postpartum is wont to do. So they Marnie calls in Hannah's mom, and she comes and sort of lays down the law. Hannah runs away for the day, and then just sort of like walks around outside. And then while she's gone, they give the baby formula, and that's great. And then she comes back and
she has this weird run-in with a person who is played by like somebody who appears to be 19, but seems to be playing a character who's supposed to be like 14. It's a real mismatch between actor and she has this weird interaction with a teen.
She has a weird interaction where the teen has like run away from home and she's screaming and freaking out. So Hannah thinks that like something really bad has happened to her. So she's the girl's like not wearing a ton of clothes. So Hannah gives her clothes. And then she's like, okay, I got you clothes. Do you want to talk about it? Do you need help? What happened to you? And she's like, my mom said I couldn't go hang out with my boyfriend. And Hannah was like, the fuck? That is not a reason to act like that, which is we're sort of seeing the transition here from Hannah from being a girl to being a mom, where it's like, obviously, if you're a girl, you totally understand. Like, it's the end of the world. My mom won't let me see my boyfriend. But if you're a mom, you're like, oh, please just shut the fuck up. This is not an emergency. Go home and do your homework, you know? So we see that shift in the character of Hannah. This episode really is about this shift. It's called latching. It's about latching onto the next chapter of your life as a mother. As far as worst episodes go, I think it's a good episode. I don't I'm not like, oh, this is my girls. My girls are doing fun New Yorky Brooklyn things. Like, I think it's a good short film about the early days of motherhood. While the character of Hannah is a difficult person, I think it still is interesting to see what is it like when this person who is a difficult person, who is somewhat of a selfish person, is thrown into this experience.
I think my feelings were, I agree this was not a bad episode. There was nothing it was co-written by Lena Dunham, Jenny Connor, and Judd Apatow. So we have a lot of experience and a lot of, people who know what they're doing going into it. It's very competently made. I think my issue is it just felt so incredibly inessential. I just didn't know what it was doing. I didn't know why it existed. It didn't feel like it carried, despite talking about a time of life that is incredibly, obviously, life-changing. And, it's a story that a lot of people, although notably not Lena Dunham, have gone through. But it just didn't feel like it carried any emotional weight for me. It didn't feel, maybe because she wasn't writing from personal experience, but there was this feeling of it didn't feel like it was saying anything. It felt kind of slickly made, completely competent on every level, but I just never emotionally connected with anything that was happening.
It was maybe a smidge surface level as far as digging into what it's like to experience a difficult postpartum period, a difficult time with nursing. I personally had a very difficult postpartum period, had a very difficult time nursing. So that's something that I connect to. I didn't find a deep amount of connection here. It felt kind of surfacey as far as the topics that they were discussing. But I think that's fine. I think there's so little art. There's more art made about that experience now than there was at the time. So I think it's maybe I give it a little bit of permission to be surface level because it is something that was not discussed a lot. This was before If I Had Legs, I Would Kick You. This is before Night Bitch. This is pre that stuff, right? This is pre Working Moms, I think, too.
Yeah.
I love Working Moms. Did that have 100 episodes?
I do. I think we talked about this time you had mentioned that Lena Dunham kind of wanted to be a parent and it didn't happen for her. But it did. I was interested, kind of what led her to making this the final statement of this series. The series that felt pretty based on, if not the one-to-one to her life, sort of her view of the world and her view of New York. And it was interesting that she chose to end it on something that was not based on her life at all.
So if we're looking at it as if it's a show called Girls and it's about girls, does it end when we are no longer girls?
Sorry, I just heard that in Al Pacino's voice. It's called Girls. It's about girls.
It's about girls. How do we end a show? Does it end when they arrive as women? And what does that look like for these characters? Specifically Hannah, what does it look like for her? Is it her losing this selfishness to care for another person? That is sort of the big hurdle of Hannah, is that she's very selfish. So that is a way that they are showing her, crossing the line into womanhood. And for Marnie, it's a little bit more hazy, but I guess it's finding codependency and living your own life. I guess that's how she's crossing the line from girlhood into womanhood.
Is she? Because she's being incredibly codependent.
But at the end of the episode, she leaves, right? Or
does she? I don't
think
remember that.
She is to leave. I think that's what is to happen there for Marnie's story. So I think that's probably why it was selected to show this transformation, going from girlhood into motherhood.
Yeah.
If I had to guess.
I'm curious how much Jenny Connor and Judd Apatow, who are both parents, had to do with kind of shaping this episode.
I know, just from reading Fame Sick, I know that Lena was very ill in this season of the show, and a show that she, for the first couple seasons, she was writing, directing, and starring in pretty much every episode. And towards the end, they obviously, when you're growing a series, you're going to start to bring in more collaborators. But I think the 5th season, she was pretty unwell, and so the helm sort of got the writing and directing side got a little bit more passed to Jenny. So I think that parenthood is something that Judd Apatow likes to discuss. It's a topic that he's interested in putting on film, so it's possible that there was some influence there.
Yeah, it's definitely,
and as far as Lena's personal life goes, she was having a lot of issues with fertility and with what her future as a mother would look like. So it's something that was definitely on her mind.
I have these notes. My main note is, this is an absolutely bizarre thing, which is, so Lena Dunham White, the character who she has a baby with is Middle Eastern, I believe. And the baby that they cast is black. The baby is just absolutely, I believe the actual baby is half Puerto Rican, half Haitian. Presents very much as a black baby. And so it's just, it's an interesting artistic choice to go completely colorblind on the casting of the baby. But you can find a lot of contemporary questions of, wait a second, why is Hannah's baby black when her baby daddy was like light-skinned Middle Eastern guy?
It is a show that kind of stumbled out of the gate as far as representation, diverse representation on screen went. The 4 main characters were white women. All the leads for the first episode were white or white presenting. So it did take a kind of a bit to find its feet. However, it was 2012, and so it was like kind of before anyone thought to ever be like, hey, what if we didn't just cast all our white friends and everything? So
2012, they hadn't invented black people on TV yet.
Yep.
I mean, I will say this baby has a lot of lines. The lines are all screaming, but the baby is also named Grover, which is a name I think theoretically I guess you could give a baby, although I don't know if I would recommend it. There was also, when I was looking at contemporary questions, there was a lot of questions about how the fuck Hannah was affording this. Because she is living in a part of the Hudson Valley that you and I used to live in. She has an absolutely gorgeous house, view of the Catskills. And this information is not given in this episode, but apparently what she is up there to do is be like an adjunct professor or something. She's doing some sort of teaching job for which the pay is specified as $20,000 a year. And so the question was just on $20,000 a year, how is she living in like this gorgeous giant house?
It's not a giant house.
It's pretty big.
It's I wouldn't say, especially like 2017 upstate New York, the rent on that place is probably like $1,000 a month. But still, you can't afford that on $20,000 a year.
Yeah. I mean, we bought upstate in 2015, so around the same time, and it wasn't cheap, that area.
Yeah, but that house that they shot in was smallish. It was like probably 1,000 square feet. So
I would say more. It was a 2-story.
Yeah. Anyway, we don't have to fight about that. But yeah, it's TV. How are they affording anything, right?
I think there was just people who wanted, as long as you were like you were trying to do a realistic depiction of like having the struggles of having a new baby, that they felt there was a lot left on the table by not talking about the financial aspect. But also that Lena Dunham, I think, just was not equipped to do that. She had and has very little understanding of class because she was born and raised and remained wealthy. And so class is something she struggled with.
And also, society holds Lena Dunham to a higher standard than they hold literally anyone else.
That's not true at all.
I think, I don't think that's true at all. I think that she really is a bit of a punching bag as far as things go. Like, no one is like angry at Greta Gerwig that there's not enough black people in Frances Ha.
I guarantee you, though, there definitely is a essay about the depiction of race in Frances Ha.
I agree, but I think that Lena Dunham gets hit a lot harder than most creators. She's held to a bit of a different standard.
I mean, I think it is, she had success young. I think it is the fact that everyone working on the show is a Nepo baby, which kind of rubs everyone the wrong way.
And also she looks different than people think that in order to have success in Hollywood, you need to look a certain way. And so when someone is there looking a different way, they're like, she doesn't deserve it. She doesn't look that way. The only reason I don't have it is because I don't look that way. So like there's that aspect to it with her where they find her undeserving because she's a Nepo baby and because she's not of the beauty standard of HBO television.
Yeah. I mean, these were fans who were saying that they just felt it was leaving something on the table to not address the financial side of being a single mom.
Oh, I totally agree. I think that there's like lots of stuff and ways that things are left on the table. In 23 minutes, though.
I mean, there was room for a lot. I guess it's just like, what are you trying to do with this episode exactly? Which is the thing that I struggled to figure out, is what exactly she was trying to do.
It's a transformation of the episode. Of course, Lena Dunham is naked in this episode. One of the things that Girls was very well known for was her nudity on the show. And so we have her naked in this episode, but it is different. We are seeing her body through a different lens now. It is the lens of motherhood. It is not her like with Adam having weird sex. It is like her like kind of hobbled in a bathtub, and like her trying to nurse her child. So it's like we're in this motherhood form of body as opposed to this girl or like, young woman form of body.
One of her very first short films that got a lot of attention was when she was at Oberlin. She did one that was just her bathing in a bikini in the Oberlin fountain. So she would kind of, I think, using her body, kind of making people look at her when she, as you said, didn't have the kind of body that is expected to be on screen, I think was a big part of this, the thing she was interested in making movies and TV. This episode, as we said, was written by Lena Dunham. I feel like we've talked through her biography. Her parents were big in the art world, right?
Yeah.
It was also written by Jenny Connor, Jewish, born in NYC, raised in LA. Her dad was a very successful TV and movie writer, wrote on The Sopranos and Boardwalk Empire, as well as the 6th Star Trek movie and the unsuccessful sequel to Romancing the Stone that no one remembers. Her mom is a less successful TV writer. She wrote 2 episodes of Cagney and Lacey. What is Cagney and Lacey about, just off the top of your head? Like, I know that name.
Are they buddy cops?
That sounds right. It's Nepo Babies all the way down on the show. Jenny Connor worked for Judd Apatow and then formed a production company with Lena Dunham until 2018 when they professionally broke up. Possibly because Dunham had to go to rehab. Like, there's a little hazy in interview. There's some people say that in interviews. Some people kind of deny it. It's a little hazy.
In the book, it's kind of presented as like, in the book, Jenny is not presented in a good light. She's presented as someone who is like abusive to Lena, and takes advantage of her age and experience over her, and takes advantage of their friendship. And in that time, Lena Dunham was really very, very unwell. She had a drug addiction issue as well as she has lots of chronic illness. So I think there was a frustration on Jenny's part because Lena wasn't able to continue the rigorous schedule, just like her body and her brain just gave out. I think there was, at least the way Lena presents it, that Jenny had a lot of disappointment in her not being able to sort of keep up with where things were going, and the financial aspect of that as well.
I can imagine if you're an established TV person, you suddenly have this hit on your hands, that it would be pretty frustrating to be with somebody who's like struggling to do the thing when you're like, we have a hit. That so rarely happens. Like, I need you to be here and be working on this hit with me.
But when you think in the defense of it, Lena created the show. She starred in it. She wrote it. She directed it. For many of those episodes, she did all the press. She and a person who is chronically ill, like this, it's not an easy thing for her to do. She worked as hard as she could, but she burned out. That's gonna happen when you're at that rigorous level. And you don't have the experience, and you don't have the lifestyle infrastructure of like really an adult. Like, she started working on this at 23, 22. Like, you don't have any of your shit together. So like, I think she burned out, and there was a lot of resentment from Jenny about that burnout. I also think that, the way Lena portrays it in the book, Jenny contributed a lot to that burnout of asking things of her when she was not really able to do them.
Well, they also founded Lenny Letter. Remember Lenny Letter?
I used to get the Lenny Letter.
Which they also shut down in 2018 when they professionally broke up. She kind of had some years in the wilderness, it looks like, and then she became an executive producer on the Hulu show Deli Boys. And she is also, starting in the 2nd season, is the showrunner of Nobody Wants This on Netflix. Nobody Wants This filmed on our block.
Because there's always a Jenny Connor show filming on our block.
And you could see in the 1st season, I think, the person who created the show has no TV experience. And I think you could see that in the running of the show. There was a lot of like sorry, we're coming back to reshoot a few scenes. Sorry, they wrote a few more scenes. We're coming back. And so I think you can see why they were like, okay, if we're going to do another season, we have to bring in somebody who knows what she's doing. And so Jenny Connor was kind of brought in to plan that out a little better.
I mean, that's what she was brought in to do on Girls, really, was to supervise this, like, to showrun and supervise this, like, young auteur. Except, I mean, in the case of Nobody Wants This, slightly older auteur.
Let's see. She is married to a TV director. We'll talk about him soon, and has 2 kids. Judd Apatow is not a Nepo baby, but he is the parent of a Nepo baby. His grandfather worked in the music business, but wasn't super successful. And as far as I can tell, his grandfather had nothing to do with how Judd got into his career. He started in stand-up, then became the most successful comedy producer in the world for a while, I would say. I've heard that because he's really kind of pulled back ever since Trainwreck. I would say he's made less stuff and been less present. And I think a lot of that is the death of Gary Shandling. He was very close with Gary Shandling, and I think that death hit him very hard. And he's it changed his priorities on things. He's started focusing more on making documentaries about other comedians. He's produced movies or series about the one about Mel Brooks, about George Carlin, about Gary Shandling. He made one about Maria Bamford. And so I think he's kind of changed his interest. He's made his money, so he can spend his time just doing stuff that interests him now.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the worst episode of Girls, which was, again, it felt totally, nothing about it was bad. All of it, I was just like, why? Why is this here, and what is it supposed to do? Is I think the thing I struggled with.
Yeah, I think it's hard for you to see that without having to watch the whole series.
But it kind of seems like it was hard for the fans to like it.
It's not like a fan ending, right? There's no fan service in that ending.
Yeah.
There's no like, ooh, Marnie's off at Coachella. Ooh, Hannah, see Hannah in her job. Ooh, we can see where Shoshana's gone. We can see Adam and Jessa, having a weird family together. We don't get to see, there's no like real big leap into the future for a lot of the characters. It really is just the focus is back in on Hannah and like to some extent Marnie. So we don't get like a big conclusion that like we like really the bows get really tied up. Instead, we kind of finish on like with a short film about motherhood.
Can we briefly talk? We forgot to cover this, that there's the scene where Hannah's mother walks in on Marnie having phone sex, and the phone sex is so high concept. It's the guy she's having phone sex with has to pretend to be the pilot of the plane, and Marnie is a British woman who has to go, there's like a cock emergency she has to attend to while he's talking her through it from the cockpit. It is so like complicated, and it's not just like I'm taking off my shirt. There's character voices. That's all.
All right. This is, I guess, our controversy section.
Is there any specific ones other than the general Nepo Baby productions?
There's Nepo Baby productions. There was an issue, I think it was I don't have to get the time on it. There was a writer on the show who was accused of rape.
That's right.
And
I forgot about this.
Lena and Jenny issued a statement being like, this is false. We defend our writer friend. We know that a lot of times accusations of rape are true, but this is one of those rare instances where it's false and we have proof. And they didn't have proof of any kind. They just like believed their friend as opposed to believing the woman who was raped. So they put out a statement about that. And then Lena Dunham has since apologized for it. She talks about it in her book. She kind of talks about in her book, like she is really trying to not step in it again, I think. But she did apologize for it. She also said that she was recovering, like had literally just gotten out of surgery when Jenny was like, we have to come put a statement together. What do you think?
Feels very convenient to just blame Jenny for that.
I agree. But again, I only have Lena's words on this. I have Jenny's. Jenny has never issued an apology for defending someone who was accused of rape. So there's that. There's the general Nepo baby-ness of it. Yeah, and then I think we touched on earlier the like controversy of Lena Dunham, how she is like always seems to have a target on her. Sometimes justly, sometimes I think unjustly.
Yeah, I mean sometimes though I think I don't know if the word is enjoys having a target on her, but she plays into that a lot in a way that I think people find very irritating. I remember there was the thing where she went to the Met Gala and was like seated near a black athlete and wrote this whole essay for Lenny Letter about like, he had no idea what to do with me because I'm a larger woman and he didn't even know I was human. And he like wouldn't talk to me. And then the black athlete had to be like, I was talking with my friends. I was not aware she was there. I'm like, it just felt like people felt like she was using this black athlete as a prop in this kind of fantasy where the Met Gala was about her. So she has played, I think, into that a little bit.
Yeah. Other controversies in Fame Sick, Lena Dunham talks about some behavior that I would characterize as abusive by Adam Driver.
Yeah, there's a lot of like Adam Driver
throws a chair at her.
Oh, the part that was like got passed around was the fact that he was like flirting with her and like trying to stay at her apartment while he was engaged.
Also, like
to the person he's still married to.
Yeah. Also, there was another part where she talks about in the book where she's like, we had our first sex scene and we talked about, like, she's like, I came into the scene being like, this is how we're going to choreograph it. This is what it's going to look like. And he was just like, yeah, cool, I'm not doing that. Let's just go with it. So there was that aspect of it. There was, they're just, in her book, she does not portray Adam Driver as a person who seems easy to work with.
Which, to be fair, I don't think anyone has ever gotten easy to work with vibes off of Adam Driver. I don't think that is ever the vibe anyone has ever gotten from him. He definitely seems like guy who is too intense on set is probably his vibe. There's also all the Jack Antonoff stuff where she sort of semi-accuses Jack Antonoff of cheating on her with Lord, although never quite.
No, she does not. And then there's also the stuff with her sibling.
Oh, yeah. Let's not get into that. It's fine. You can Google that if you really need to. You can Google all this.
I would recommend reading Fame Sick. I think if you're interested in girls, it does shed a little bit of light onto that. And again, I am not interested in doing a hit piece on Lena Dunham or on girls.
No, I mean, I didn't, jumping spoiler alert a bit, I didn't super enjoy anything we watched, but also none of it was bad. It at worst felt just, again, kind of empty to me. It felt like it was missing some sort of emotional core. Let's do an ad break and come back with our intermission.
This episode is brought to you by Perfect Bistro Cat Food. Cats, this ad is for you. Has your human ever called you picky, persnickety, choosy? If so, Perfect Bistro Cat Food is for you. With ingredients like wild-caught tuna and pasture-raised lamb, tantalizing textures, and delectable flavors that meet even the most discerning cat standards. You're not picky, you're just perfectionists. Perfect Bistro, mealtime perfection for every cat. Have your human visit perfectbistro.com.
Tomorrow morning is knocking. Stock your fridge now. How about a creamy mocha frappuccino drink? Or a sweet vanilla? Smooth caramel, maybe? Or a white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Find Starbucks Frappuccino drinks wherever you buy your groceries.
And we're back, and let's get to our intermission. How is that theme song? It doesn't have one. So
it's a crime against humanity.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a -6 because you should have a theme song.
I give it a 0 because I can't score it, and I'm not gonna. But like your show should have a theme song.
Yeah, you gotta have a theme song. I mean, I think that they have the thing where the title card is different every time, and that's cute. I like that. But you gotta have a theme song. So there we are. Don't do what girls did. Have a theme song. Let's get to the best, which is season 5, episode 6, The Panic in Central Park.
Yep.
Tell us about it.
So this is a bottle episode that follows the story of Marnie, who's in a fight with her husband Desi. She leaves to get some air and she runs into Charlie, who is her ex from 3 seasons ago. And he's changed. He's a lot more New York-y, and he's like a little bit more muscular and it's talking a little different. And they run into each other on the street and he's like, hey, let's come with me somewhere. And she's like, no. And then she's like, okay. And so he's like, I got to get you an evening gown. So he like gets her an evening gown, takes her to a hotel, does something shady. Marnie pretends to be a sex worker to bilk some cash out of an old guy, and she does. Then they go to an Italian restaurant. Then they go boating in Central Park. Then they go back on the subway. Then they go to his apartment, and they do it. And then she takes a shower, and she comes out of the shower, and then she finds a needle, and she's like, Charlie, why do you have a needle? And he's like, I'm a diabetic. She's like, no, you're a junkie. And then she goes home to Desi and is like, I want a divorce. And she walks barefoot back through New York City. She says to Desi, I want a divorce. And then she goes to Hannah's house and climbs back into bed with Hannah for comfort. And that is The Panic in Central Park. The Panic in Central Park is inspired by a 1971 film called The Panic in Needle Park.
Written by Joan Didion.
Yep. Starring Al Pacino and Kitty Wynn and John Gregory Dunn. And it was adapted from a 1966 novel by James Mills. It's about two heroin addicts in New York City. So I think it was Jenny and Lena had gotten the idea of it was written by Lena Dunham, and they had gotten the idea to do a capsule episode with Marnie. And Charlie, who's Christopher Abbott, who had left the show after the second season, saying that he was not interested in playing this character anymore. Saying that he was not interested in playing this character anymore. He didn't connect to it anymore. So I think the story is like Jenny Connor ran into him at the Bowery Hotel and was like, hey, we want to do something more with Charlie. Are you down? And he's like, if the script's good. And so Lena wrote the script and he agreed and came on board. And then they made this episode.
Yeah, small technical note. I'm not sure I don't think this is a bottle episode, because a bottle episode, in my understanding, is one that is made to save budget. So it's like a single location, as few people and as few locations as possible. And this is, despite only being Marnie, it seems like a pretty expensive one. They're like all over the place. They're shooting on location in Central Park.
They're actually not on location in Central Park.
Okay. They're on location all over New York City, though.
Yes, they are.
So it feels like this can't really be called a bottle episode.
But then again, they were on location everywhere all the time. So
yeah. This is another one where I was like, I really didn't understand this being like, when I saw that other one that was like about Hannah confronting that author and kind of again, that actually was a bottle episode, because that entire episode takes place in the author's apartment and it's just the two of them. That one I could understand. I'm like, yeah, this is a good episode of television. With this one, I wasn't grasping what people were it was fine. It was perfectly serviceable, but there just never seemed to be, to me, much there. And when I went to look at fan responses to see what they loved about it, I feel like you had to have a lot of emotional attachment to, what's the guy's name, the character?
Charlie, played by Christopher Abbott.
It felt like a lot of people had a lot of emotional attachment to Charlie, and a lot of the love of this episode was like, we get to see Charlie again. It brings Charlie back. And so I feel like maybe that was the missing piece for me. Without any emotional attachment to that character, the episode itself didn't feel like it was doing much. And
he came back as pretty much a completely different character. Like the Charlie that we leave at the end of season 2. Well, in season 1, he's like very much pussy whipped by Marnie. It's kind of like, whatever you need, baby. Like, it's like kind of embarrassing. The character's like kind of embarrassingly in love with Marnie, and she does not treat him well. And he's like kind of nerdy and like very much like, can I ask, is it okay, Marnie, if I try these drugs? Like, kind of like that. And then they break up, and then he becomes like, he makes an app and gets like tech money. And then the next time we see him is he's on the street, like with some boys on the street. So like, and he's kind of buff. And he's like talking different. Even Marnie's like, why are you talking different? He's like he's much more streetwise and he has this, story about his dad killing himself. So I think they were really trying to lure him back with some meatiness to this character, because him saying like, I'll do it if the script is good. And him leaving because like, I don't want to play that character anymore. That Lena, I guess, was like, what can I make so delicious for him that he has no choice but to come back? And it's a complete character transformation. And I think why people like it, other than that, like, hey, Charlie's back, it's pretty. It's New York in the summer and the spring. It's pretty. It's all shot handheld. The lighting is gorgeous. There's scenes that they shoot underwater. Like it's a real art filmy time. Yeah. It should be for me, because I do really love this style of thing. Like, we are right now making this style of thing. Like this thing about two people who aren't quite together, but are definitely interested, wandering around a city. It's before sunrise. It's before sunset. It's once. It's the project that you and I are going to start recording with actors tomorrow. But I think part of it for me, I didn't feel any chemistry between these two actors. I did not feel much chemistry. I don't know. Maybe it was there and I just wasn't noticing it. But I struggle with when I can't feel chemistry. I found a similar problem with
What was the name of that movie? Was it Past Lives? Is
Yeah.
that the name? I had a similar problem with that, where it should, in theory, have been for me because it was that kind of movie, but I just didn't feel any chemistry between the actors. And when you don't feel that, it's hard for me to get engaged.
I liked Past Lives. The chemistry wasn't like super intense. It wasn't like that Before Sunrise intensity. But then again, it's kind of hard to bottle that lightning. So yeah, I think it's a pretty episode. I like the way it's shot. I like the locations. I love that the shot of Marnie underwater. I think that's really cool. I love her walking in an evening gown, soaking wet, barefoot through Chinatown.
We watched the like behind the scenes after, and the woman who played Marnie did not enjoy the morning of having, they like put some pads on her feet. They like glued some to the bottom, but still she had to spend a morning just walking barefoot around Chinatown, which she did not enjoy. When we saw Desi, I wrote the note, it's the bear from the show The Bear, because it's, what's his name from The Bear?
It's Eben Moss-Bacharach from The Bear.
Yeah, the guy from The Bear from the show The Bear. We got to see some Williamsburg from whenever this was, 2014, 2015, which is prime us living in Williamsburg time. So that was nice to see. They do that line, which I learned about from a neo-futurist play by neo-futurist Daniel McCoy about the champagne for my real friends, real pain for my sham friends. And you know what? It's a very clever line.
And shampoo for my poo friends.
It's Francis Bacon, I want to say, the artist. Oh, they go to John's on 12th? Or is it John's on 9th? I don't
12th.
know. 12th. Which we used to really like. It's like very old school Italian red sauce joint. They have a candle that's been burning since Prohibition. There's a very brief scene in which, while she's taking a shower, because it's like a shared bathroom, another lady comes in. And I was like, oh, that lady is so familiar. And it's because she's the star of the horror movie that came out this year, Weapons. So, much bigger role many years later. And it's filmed at Silver Cup Studios, which we used to live near.
Gotta love it. Gotta love filming at Silver Cup. The producer of the show, Eileen Landress, was a producer on The Sopranos, came on from the beginning as a producer on this, and yeah, knows how things go over at Silver Cup.
We used to, because I used to sell green energy on the streets of New York, and I'm pretty sure we used to sometimes work near a Silver Cup. There was always something filming in Williamsburg, and Silver Cup was a big reason for that.
As far as awards and accolades go, this episode received a critical acclaim from The Atlantic as a perfect episode of TV, dreamlike quality. It did not win any awards. Nor was it nominated for any awards.
Girls as a whole, or this episode?
This episode.
Oh, okay.
Girls has won. It won the WGA Awards. It won in 2013. It won for new series. It has won for some guest actor parts, some casting. It has won Emmys for. It's been nominated a lot. Golden Globe. It won for Best Television Series, Musical or Comedy, and Lena Dunham won for Best Actress in 2013, Golden Globe. Has won DGA. Lena Dunham won that for the pilot. Lena Dunham also was nominated for the Middleist episode for directing, I want to say, for an Emmy.
It's interesting that, I know that there is less interaction between the four girls than in similar shows of this type, in that I think there is only like 10-ish scenes in the entire series in which all four girls are in the scene. But really, it was wild that we watched the best and the worst, and there was none of the Mamet daughter. Zosia Mamet? Is that her name? Mm-hmm. Zosia Mamet, not in it at all.
She was in the Middleist.
Yeah, she was in the Middleist, but in the best and the worst. And then, even if you include the Middleist, I don't think the British lady was in it at all.
Jemima Kirk not in anything that we watched.
Yeah, we watched 3 episodes, and the one of the 4 main leads was not in any of them.
Yeah, I will say Jemima Kirk, who's a very good friend of Lena Dunham. Lena Dunham describes her as her muse. She had 2 children during the production of Girls.
Okay, so she was maybe gone a lot.
I think she was gone a bit. I literally, seriously, though, she also shot she shot the pilot very newly postpartum. So, yeah.
It's an unusual way of making TV to not put your main characters together very much. We also did not see Adam Driver in these two. We will see them in the middle. Middle will give us Zoja Mamet and Adam Driver.
And Harry, Alex Cap, the guy who plays Ray.
I don't remember who Ray is. Which one is Ray?
In that episode, the middle is he's Shoshana's boyfriend.
Okay, yes.
He's a number. He's a number of their boyfriends.
All right. Oh, this episode, written by Lena Dunham, as discussed. So it was directed by Richard Shepard, who is in continuing the Nepo tradition, Jenny Connor's husband. He made a number of movies, none of which I think really broke through. I can't find much evidence that the movies did much, but then he directed the pilot of Ugly Betty. He did 12 episodes of Girls. He's done a few episodes of a bunch of other things. He regularly directs TV now. Yeah, I think that is the best. I don't see any more information about it. Having watched these 2 episodes of Girls, not considering the middle list, but only these 2, what are your feelings on Girls?
I think for me, it is different to watch Girls now, 10 years later. This episode came out 10 years ago. It's always interesting to go back and watch shows at different periods in your life, especially ones that spoke so closely to the period of life that you were experiencing, to see what that looks like now, 10 years out. So that's my experience. Also, after having read Famesick and hearing Lena's story about what it was like to make this show and what it's like for her to make things in general, I think it's interesting to go back and take a look. What about you?
You know, I had some curiosity about Girls because you were talking about it while reading Famesick. So I watched, I want to say, the first couple episodes relatively recently. I think that watching these has kind of put me off the idea of watching the rest. As the vibe I got is I'm just like, I think this is all very competently made, but I just didn't emotionally connect to basically anything that was happening. I was finding really hard to find an emotional core to connect to. And so, yeah, I think the vibe I'm getting with Girls is well made, but just not what I'm interested in. And so, would we keep watching it? Sounds like you're going to do that in your life.
Yeah, I was going to watch another episode last night, but instead I watched a documentary about Paradise.
Paradise, California? Or
no. I'm going to just leave it at that.
Paradise. Okay. Just leave it at Paradise, the Hulu show.
It was on HBO.
No, I know. But there's currently a big Hulu show, I believe, called Paradise.
I'm spelling it Peari.
Perry.
Like pear.
Oh, okay. I would not keep watching Girls. I think it's not for me. Thank you so much for listening. Our next show will be Glee. We're returning to the house of Ryan Murphy. I just saw a thing about Glee recently and was like, oh, we should do Glee. Because I really enjoyed the first season and then did not enjoy anything after the first season.
I feel like I watched the first 3 seasons.
Like a lot of Ryan Murphy, it started good and went wildly off the rails pretty quickly. Thank you so much. Check out our Patreon-only show, The Middle List, where we will be discussing the exact Middle List rated episode to see what the show looks like when everything is exactly average. That episode is Season 2, Episode 9, On All Fours, for people who are into Adam Driver. That is a line he says. He commands someone to get on all fours. So if you find Adam Driver hot, that's a little reason to tune in. We also get some Zoja Mamet and absolutely none of the blonde British lady. She
Jemima Kirk
does not show up. And we will see you next week.